We're back.
There.
Hey, we had a little bit of a hiatus.
It was a good break.
We had an argument on the residential broadcast last week, how long we were off, but it was 2 months, so we haven't been at you in a while. So today's broadcast is dedicated to our commercial sellers.
It's really nicely the way you said that. It's dedicated.
Dedicated to them.
To you. Because
So I'm kind of curious, like, nobody's hitting up the chat.
Yeah, nobody's sitting
So
on the chat
we have
on the
to tell you.
strawberry.
Yeah, what's your favorite strawberry dish, right? Don,
Yeah.
come on, help us out.
Yeah.
You're usually pretty chatty in these things.
Yeah.
Nobody's putting anything in there.
Yeah, let me see. Scott Ford is about to take off somewhere. Captain, pilot, got my headphones on, taking off. Roger that.
I see.
Okay,
Look
coming
at
in for a landing. Roxanne,
our
that's my
salesman.
girl right there. Roxanne, what's happening?
She's got somebody with her. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's somebody behind you,
My
Roxanne.
man, Mr. Shane Mester's out there as always. I see
By
Justin
the way,
Jones.
does Sarah Parrish remind you of the actress from The Office? I think so. Let's vote on that one. Yeah, she does. She looks like that actress from The Office. Am I right? Sean Toole, am I right? Doesn't she look like the lady from The Office, right? Yeah, she does. That's pretty cool.
There's David Hooey. Oh, there Dawn gets in there finally with strawberry milkshake. There
David
we go.
Hooey.
There's our friend Gordon Mellerine.
By the way,
Adam Humphrey.
Jesse Reddington just looks too intellectual for this show.
Jesse's he's a
Yeah, he just
killer.
looks too intellectual. Like I don't know. It's like the beard of wisdom.
He's out at the call. He's out at just so you know. He's out at the call center. He works remote, so he's allowed to have a beard.
Okay,
End
is
of
he?
story. Why do you got to bring that up?
I forgot about that. Yeah, the whole beard situation. Yeah.
No, nobody sees him. Sean Archuleta's in. Lots of folks in the house.
And by the way, Courtney Hamilton is a good-looking dude. Look at that bald head with the black rimmed glasses. Bam.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
Nice,
That's
I
what I'm
dig
talking about right here, Courtney. That's what I'm talking about.
I think I mentioned Adam Humphrey. There's a lot of folks on this call, Victor.
Yeah.
That are going to be in New Orleans next week.
Oh, really? Because I'm not invited to New Orleans, so I wouldn't know.
No, you're not.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You have to win your way to New Orleans.
Oh, my bad. What did they have to do to get to New Orleans?
They had to sell a whole bunch of business.
Like, what's a whole bunch
They
of business?
basically had to be in the top 5 or 6%
Really?
of the sellers across the country. Maybe 7% for our commercial
How many
sellers.
folks are actually going, though?
There's 41 commercial account managers, and which is the highest number we've had in a long, long time.
Okay.
Which is just outstanding. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Looking
All
forward
right.
to that.
So you're going to be there? Obviously.
I am going to be there.
Are you going to present or anything?
I don't have to. I get the privilege of announcing the Chairman's Club winners from the stage. So I get a little chance to.
Can you give us one?
Yeah. Chris Pierce.
Okay. Gotcha.
Who's been there like 37 times, but we'll talk about that.
That's
Chris is
cool.
on the broadcast too.
Yeah.
And then Albert Leishleiter is another Chairman's Club winner, right?
Nice.
Albert's the guy that I sent you the email last night.
The Chat GPT
The
thing?
Chat GPT thing, which is, if you have not checked that out yet, you need to jump all over that. I mean, I think Albert's going to start writing proposals with it, but I mean, it's outstanding what he had. Maybe I'll share that with everybody tonight after I check with Albert to make
That's
sure
cool.
it's okay.
By the way, Justin Jones. I dig the red tie with that, whatever you got going on with the jacket. Justin Jones, man. You looking.
He's got somebody looking over his
Looking
shoulder.
dapper, yeah.
Would you be nervous if somebody was looking
That's
over
his
his shoulder?
manager looking over. Look, do it right, do it right, do it right. Yeah, something like that. Sorry.
Hey, just let's get going.
Let's
here.
go. Stop messing around,
and we'll get after it because we promised we'd keep him here like half hour, 40 minutes.
Let's go.
So first off, I think we need to kind of. It has been a little while since we've been together. Let's put a bow on.
Oh, it's not a button this time.
It's not a button.
This morning it was a button. Now it's a
bow
bow.
on 2022. So
Those phrases are so dated, Ed. I'm just letting you know.
well, I'm
Go
dated.
ahead.
I'm dated.
Oh, I like the way you own that. Yeah, I'm dated. Go
Been here
ahead. I'm
darn
sorry.
near 40 years, Victor.
Let's
I'm
do it.
dated, ready to be ridden off to pasture, I think. But maybe I got a couple more years left. We'll see what happens. So again, we're going to focus mostly on commercial sales and the commercial sales results. And in January, or I'm sorry, in 2022, we had another stellar year of commercial sales growth. Just right after another, third year in a row. The only blip we really had in the whole system for commercial sales in the past 10 years was that year we kind of struggled with COVID a little bit. And that wasn't y'all's fault. That was the problem of the world with all the businesses shutting down. But again, just to kind of share some numbers, I'm going to cheat and peek at them. 11.5% year-over-year increase in local commercial sales. I mean, just again, another double-digit sales increase, which is just outstanding. And the revenue followed in place as well. So not only we sell it, we kept it. You know, our commercial revenue increase was double digits as well. And, you know, it's just that money that just keeps giving and giving and giving.
That's good numbers.
National account sales, I see a couple of national account reps on the call. I've got them coming into town tomorrow. You're going to speak to them tomorrow afternoon. National account sales in 2022 were up 15.7%. Outstanding.
Big
outstanding.
number. Big number.
And the biggest piece of national accounts, and I always try to clarify this every chance I get to get in front of folks, is we look at national accounts as maybe the dozen folks that sell national accounts. But 65 to 68% of our national accounts are sold in conjunction with those 10 or 12 account managers, with folks in the field, our account managers, the folks on the call, the technicians that are out there upselling business. You know, I see Andrea Albertson on the you know, she's one of our in-house client managers, and she does a lot of selling by just growing business that we already have. You know, adding new services, adding another service, putting a bed bug job in, those kind of things.
Gotcha.
So I would be remiss if I didn't, you know, we like to hang our hat on having great national account sales, but they don't happen without y'all. So that's 22, right? I mean, just outstanding
Solid
performance.
numbers.
They converted to profit. So my outgoing boss, Freeman Elliott, who was here for 30 years, retired at 54, so life must have been good, so we made money, so he was happy. And then lo and behold, we got a new sheriff in town. Pat Chernowski comes in as the new president. And Pat's message, if you've not seen it or had it shared with you yet, he's making the rounds around the country. He's posting a lot of video, getting a lot of the Pat chats out there, is this message that I see in a lot of the backgrounds out there. I see a whole bunch of backgrounds with Built for Growth. Pat, message to the entire company is we're going to be built for growth. So in order to be built for growth, we have to have more salespeople. We have to have more technicians. And the good news is that on this call and the last call, we've added 47 account managers, Victor.
Sweet.
In the last like
That's nice.
three and a half months. So there's a lot of newbies here, and we got that going on.
Right.
So how did we do? You know, you get a new boss, you get kind of worried like how things are going to go. So we got out of the gates really great commercially in January, which is always good when you got a new boss, because he's like kind of looking over the shoulder, like some of these guys have people looking over their shoulders. So he's wondering, okay, let's see what you got. Double-digit increase in local commercial sales, double-digit increase in team sales, and a double-digit increase in national account sales. So voila. So as I've said before, the beat goes on. The beat goes on.
Nice.
And
great numbers.
we converted it to a killer January profit-wise. I mean, just
Nice. So you got no pressure on you right now.
at this,
a little bit.
Well, we're a little bit behind this month so far in February. So it's always kind of what have you done lately for you?
Yeah.
And you know, I think a line a lot of my managers have used in the past. Well, you know, when I start talking about how great January was and how great 22 was we already paid you for that, Ed.
That's
You know,
right.
Let's move forward.
Next one.
So yeah, we got a little catch up. So put some of those sales in. You know, don't be sandbagging sales for next month. You know, try to put them all in.
Don't
next
accuse
couple
them of
days.
sandbagging. That's just wrong. Don't accuse them. They would never do that.
There's a few of them out there that I'm looking at that would be sandbagging for
Who's out
sure.
there? By the way, we love the comments. Shortcake, love that. Strawberry cheesecake. By the way, the only person that's disturbing me on all these views right here is Monica Gomez. For some reason, she only wants to film herself from here up, and that's weird to me. That's just me. So
Don calls sandbagging pre-selling. I think that's a bunch of
Wow.
that's a bunch
talk
of
about doublespeak. Very
Yeah.
Orwellian of you.
yeah, amen. So those are kind of the company numbers for the last last year and last month.
Good numbers, man.
We
Good
got to do a
numbers.
little catch up on the personal individual leaders of the company. And
do
we
it.
missed you in December, and we've got January. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move to a short video that Aubrey put together that Stormy's going to share that will share our top producers in December and January.
Let's do it.
Stormy? Ba-bam.
Bam, bam.
Ba-bam,
Nice numbers.
ba-bam,
Nice
ba-bam.
numbers. Sharon Arnold, December top seller.
There's a great story there with Sharon Arnold. Sharon Arnold, she moved into sales in July of July of 2022. She was a CSS in one of the Virginia branches, right? In one of the Virginia commercial branches. She was running, in the office, running the wheels off of that.
Right.
And the account manager, Hillary Davis, took a promotion. Again, one of those situations we talked about on the last broadcast that I don't particularly love, when our salespeople take jobs as managers. But congratulations on the promotion, Hillary. That's all good. Leave the ranks of my people to go be a manager.
Sound a little bitter?
A little bitter.
A little bitter?
But no, what happened was it was really cool. So, she's a CSS, sitting in the office, and she says, I'd like to try that job. And look what she did.
That's a bit bold, by the way. That's a bit bold, by the way. That's a
In
bit bold.
December, she throws up darn near $200,000.
Darn near.
Darn near.
Yeah,
I said darn
wow.
near, in case anybody's checking out there.
So at 194, it's about 14, 15%?
She's new, so she's at minimum 15, and obviously
Okay.
that kicked her up another notch, probably 16, 17. So
Nice.
That's
Nice.
probably the pay that she made as a CSS for like 6 months.
Nice.
That she made,
Good move, Sharon.
Made in 1 month.
Good move, Sharon.
And you see that all the time with these folks. You see a lot of folks converting from technician
Yeah.
from CSS because they understand the business already, and they think, well, let me give this sales thing a try. And sometimes you
Right.
hit a home run just like that.
So
But again,
so what do you think she's doing that some of the new people might not be doing?
I don't know. She's probably working the current customer base. I don't.
Yeah.
I've
need to
only
talk to Sharon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's because she knows all the customers.
Yeah.
Right. So she's been talking to them for a year and a half as the CSS. So she goes out and maybe she gets a customer concern come in and she jumps all over it. And so I don't know if that's the answer because I haven't spoken to her.
It might be one of those, oh, you're the person I've been talking to for the last year.
Could very well be.
Sharon's secret is now revealed.
So it's all out there. So again, just
got
a strong list. We got, I think Evan Alexander's on the call. Out there in Pack Commercial, just throwing up $100,000. So
Yep.
all you folks that hit this list, the gift card comes and it'll come either tonight or come tomorrow to you.
Alan Williams, we see you, brother. Chris Williams, Jordan, Michael, yeah, good name. Sardinsky.
Amen.
How do you pronounce Albert's last name? Like leader?
Leiter, I believe, and Albert can correct us in the
Leckleader?
chat. Please do it.
Leckleader?
I think I've screwed up his name. So Albert is a perennial, Chairman's Club, President's Club
Yeah.
guy, and when I get to announce these names from
Albert.
the stage, I always
just call him
screw it up.
LL.
The cool-
Albert LL.
Cool story about him is his mother used to be. She's retired as another killer account manager out from the West Coast.
Are you kidding me?
No.
This is Prodigy here?
Prodigy.
Really?
Prodigy success without a doubt. And then
I
January.
can just see Mom. Here's the bottle. All right, here's how you sew Rollins. Just sucking on the bottle.
I don't know if that's exactly how it went, but it worked very well for both of them. And then returning to the top in January is none other than Chris Pearson.
Chris Pierce.
We talked about
Where's he
him
based out of? Is he out of
He's in LA.
All right.
He's in
my
LA,
man.
out of Pack Commercial.
West Coast. West Coast, right? Yeah, there you go.
Without a doubt,
Yeah.
if they ever had a Hall of Fame for Orkin salespeople,
This
Chris
guy?
would be in the very first induction class. Chris, I don't know if the number's right or not, Chris. Maybe you'll put it in the chat, but he's probably way too humble. This is either year 34 or 35 for President's Club. So you talk about consistent. I mean,
Quarter or year?
every year, 34, 35 years, he's won this award. Yeah, and I don't know, Chris, if you want to be so humble, put it in the chat, but just outstanding.
How many
looking
years,
forward.
Chris? Put it in there. Don't
Yeah, absolutely.
Be bold, man.
Don't be shy.
Wow, that's amazing.
So again, just really good, really strong performances across
Yep.
the board.
Good numbers here. Yep, everybody.
So
Frazier.
let's move to kind of what we want to kick around a little bit today. And what I thought with so many new account managers, that it would be good to kind of tease up just a few things, and then even as I guess maybe a gentle reminder for the veterans, right? Even the Chris's of the
Yeah.
world and the Alberts of the world that, they know this game way better than I do.
Yeah.
Just kind of a teaser to kind of say, okay, let's get refocused, or what was the word you used in the first broadcast? Kind of,
I don't know. It's a baseline. It's just, I don't
Yeah.
know, reset the baseline.
Yeah,
I don't
reset,
know.
a reset.
Reset the table. Let's reset.
yeah.
Yep.
So really, any of you that have been around me for any period of time have seen that I always talk about bringing it perfect. And I kind of have, my goal is to deliver the perfect customer experience, be it
Right.
perfect proposal, perfect graph, perfect whatever, right? Perfect BizSuite presentation. And I think I got like a list of a top 10, right? That kind of a Letterman list, for lack of a better word, to where I get down and I'll share that, what I think are the top 10 keys to success. But rather than take them through the top 10 in 30 minutes, I thought we'd chunk it down today for our commercial folks,
Yeah.
very similar to what we did with the residential folks, and maybe just share 3 of them. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And they probably know what they are already.
They do.
We're just touching the bases again.
And as we get through this, if you see something in the chat, please hit the chat up with kind of your take on what we're talking about. Because I'm telling you, the chat we had at 8 o'clock was crazy good.
It was crazy
And really, I think the folks would rather hear from you than hear from Victor and I.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, that first slide, Victor, if we want to go to that first slide.
Well, wait a minute. I
What?
got to highlight this because
What do
this
you
is
got?
important. Because you've been called out. Hayden Holmes says, Ed runs on Duncan. That's a hashtag, Ed. I'm just saying.
So It finally came up. Victor got all mad this morning when I came in with the Dunkin' Donuts
Unless
cup.
they're sponsoring this thing, I don't know why it's there, Ed, but go ahead.
You know why it's there? It's there for one simple reason.
What, Ed?
Drive by your Dunkin' Donuts today and ask them why they haven't taken it. I'm just kind of curious, Mr. Victor, why you haven't taken advantage of the Dunkin' corporate endorsed program for your facility yet.
What? I didn't know you had one.
And that's exactly what happened. So there's the commercial for Dunkin'.
Yeah.
They're one of our preferred providers.
There you go.
So drive by Dunkin'. He got all mad at me because I didn't bring him a coffee. Stuff's like $3, man. I get it for like 30 cents at home.
All right.
So let's get into the slides. Go to the slides.
Stop messing around.
Stop messing around. It's the little details that are vital.
Yep.
Little things make big things happen. John Wooden, for our West Coast guys, without a doubt, the greatest college basketball coach ever on the planet. And talk about the kind of the devil in the details. And I will always be, I get accused oftentimes of being like, this is a terrible term, but being way too anal in overanalyzing sales and the sales approach and what the customer's thinking, what I'm thinking, I'm trying to position it. But I think oftentimes it's not one big thing.
Yep.
It's not one big saying. It's not one thing that Victor will say or that I'll sprinkle on it. There's no magic wiffle dust that we can throw at you and turn you into Chris Pierce, right? It's the attention to the smallest minute details, I think, that really separates us. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, there was a book that you've probably read. If you haven't read Atomic Habits, I think it's a great book. You should read it. And it really talks about the 1% rule. You get 1% better. But in there's a story about this guy named Dave Brailsford who ran the British cycling team. They couldn't win. And what he decided to do was start with the basics. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains. And what he looked for was little bits of improvement. So, for example, he would rub alcohol on tires before the race. That was one little thing he did. He would actually bring players mattresses with them if they wanted to so they can get a good night's sleep, right? The bikes were now put in a white van so they can see any dust, because if dust got into the bearings, that would slow down the performance of the bike. So all these things were little things, and he called it the aggregation of marginal gains. And within 7 years, they started winning. They won their first Tour de France, and well, the numbers just shot up from there.
Amen.
So that I love aggregation of marginal gains.
I'm going to write that down. I don't know if I could say that. Anybody will believe I know what that means.
Yeah.
Because I'm a kind of a keep it simple for stupid kind of guy.
Aggregation. It's just adding up little things to make one big thing.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And I think that's important when we click to the next slide. We talk about really, just to kind of summarize, particularly for the new folks and a reminder to the other folks, is that the next slide.
It won't go. So our clicker is stuck. I'll have to do it manually like that.
We're going to do it manually.
There you go.
So just a reminder for the folks that have been around for a long time and the folks that are here for a very short time, that this commercial sales game, you know, if you're going to make your bones in this game, you can't just take the leads, because you get very few leads trickling in. The difference you're going to make is on the creative, self-generated appointments that you make and you earn and you find your way in.
Yep.
You know, you're persistent, professionally persistent. You get an appointment. You get an opportunity to talk to somebody. And I break it down, Victor, into two kind of buckets. I've always called it like a gap replacement sale. The first thing is you got to knock out an incumbent.
Right.
You know, if you're doing this right, you're going to be competing against folks that already have pest control. They already have some level of satisfaction. They didn't call us. You chased them down. They gave you an audience. So you got to be mindful of the fact that I got to knock these guys out. I got to punch this competition in the throat to win this business.
You got to punch in the
You
throat.
got to punch them in the throat.
I got you. I don't like that analogy, but okay. I want to ask you guys out there. So do me a favor right now. Just take a second to do this. The last group did it, and let's see how you guys do. Think of one thing you do to knock out your competition, like one thing you do in your sales process to knock out your competition. Just write it in the chat real quick. Just one thing you do, something you go, you know, when I do this, it always seems to go my way. What is that one thing?
100%. Yeah. We'll let that chat populate a little bit, because this is pretty important.
Yep.
The other piece, as they're populating in, that, you know, that thing that knocks them out, is that, you know, that's the replacement business.
Right.
But the gap piece is typically we're going to ask for more money. And if we're not asking for money, you better check your rate card, because you're going to get in trouble with your boss. Because Orkin typically charges more than the others. It's a rarity that you'll end up being cheaper. So it's kind of that twofold. I gotta knock these guys out.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm knocking this guy or this gal out. I got to get more money. What are we seeing in the chat?
A lot of stuff. Killer inspection, show up, active listening. Look at pipes under the sink in the bathroom. Love that.
Paint a picture with the proposal.
I love that. I love that one, man. Show that you really care, Roy. That's always a winner, man. Listen and show empathy by Adam. Let me see. Start with why. Give them your own why. Sean says, I treat every client like family. Always a good start.
Nice.
If somebody's relaxed and feels like they have known you for years, they'll make a faster decision.
Point not poor
Speed
poor
to trust,
service.
man. What's
Speed
that?
to trust.
Yep.
Point not poor service.
Yep.
You know, rodent stations by competitors. A very good inspection is in there again.
Omar says, asking questions. I love it, Omar.
Amen.
Yeah. What is, let me push you guys even a little further. What is one thing from a tactical standpoint, if you had to train a newbie like me, right? What is one tactical thing you do that, like, tactical? I do this, Victor, and man, this really gets their attention. Put that in the chat, and then you were going to talk about the gap. The charging more money, it's interesting because when you charge more money, you got to justify that, right?
Yeah.
And so how would you help people justify paying more, Ed?
Well, I think it's whole part of the stuff that they're posting here, right?
Right.
It's the visual. You know, it's spending more time when you get a chance to kick the tires on the inspection than the current service is taken to get done.
Yeah.
Right? If their service is being done in 30 minutes, you go in there, you walk around this place and take pictures and do your thing with your biscuit, spending more time. I think it's the time invested. It's the stuff that, not necessarily that we say.
Right.
I think it's the stuff that they visualize.
That they see that you do.
Yeah, like, wow, this cat's really different.
Yeah.
Man, she's really different with her approach. I've never seen a pest control person operate like that. They're usually rolling around in their jeans and T-shirts, right? You know, they showed up dressed to kill. They showed up ready to play.
Or they're in and out too quickly, which you pointed out already.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I think about Jordan Bosmany, who won for the first time the chairman of the Chairman's Club this past year. You go hang out with Jordan Bosmany, my man is like, he's right straight out of GQ.
Is he?
I mean, he walks in, they think, what the heck is this coming in? He's
like
looking for roaches, but he has that transition to where he shows up so respectful.
Right.
And it's just like, it's like, it's a visual kind of, oh my God,
Wow.
this guy's different.
Yep.
This
I love
guy's
that. By
different.
the way, M. Garcia says, get on the roof.
Ah, there you go.
There you go.
He's been
That's his
listening.
favorite, man.
He's
Get
been
on the roof.
listening. He's
Go-
been listening.
Go look at stuff, man.
There's
AJ,
our guy Albert. Compare and contrast the competition by checking on their work during the inspection. Find flaws.
AJ Rodriguez says, talk about the triple guarantee. You're so on it, brother. You're so on it, man.
Amen.
Good for you.
This is awesome.
Good for
Keep
you.
them coming. Great
Yeah, yes.
photos, good pictures, give options. Dang.
By the way,
We could probably stop.
Issa Barrett says, voice recorded proposal.
Yeah, we got into that.
Yeah.
The
Is that what
screen
we were talking about
Screen
earlier?
recording, yeah.
Yeah, well
that, like
done,
I've
man.
shared 100 times and nobody pays attention.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I like that.
No, super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, paint the picture, sell the urgency. Check competition's bait box, says Sean Toole.
Awesome.
Sean is just in there, man.
Yeah,
Sean is just in there.
Yeah, I
He's
think he might have been on the first broadcast and saw our next
probably,
few slides.
yeah. I love this. Anyway, so
Let's focus on three. Let's kind of, I guess maybe three of my Ridge Warfields left the building. He's getting up and leaving us, but he's taking a phone call.
that's right.
He's taking a phone call. So let's go to the next slide. Is that one up there?
Yep.
There we go. So probably,
got it. These
probably
guys
6 or 7 of them
Yeah.
put it in there. Killer inspection, right? Do the darndest inspection that they wouldn't even believe that you do, right? I mean, and you see my favorite there is getting on the roof. Every chance I get to dance with the commercial client, one of the first questions I ask after we do our little warm-up, howdy do's, you know, how's the service going, blah, 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 all that kind of fun stuff. And they say, okay, it's time to do the inspection. You roll your sleeves up, you go to work, you say, how do I get to the roof? And they look at you like you're
Yeah.
smoking crack.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got to go on the roof for? And you go on the roof to find obviously birds and bees and all that
Yeah.
other fun stuff. But the real reason you go on the roof is why? Because nobody else does.
Yep.
The first step in creating separation.
Right.
Doing that inspection. You know, watching these guys do these inspections. So I think they've hammered home the killer inspection.
They got it.
You can truly separate yourself. Let's go to the next one. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Why don't you give them your spin on pictures and kind of you know, we know that pictures work, but what's the science behind it and why does it work so well?
Yeah. One of the things you have to consider, I was telling Ed about a study that I was listening to this morning, and they talked about showing a table, like table with numbers, versus an actual graph. And what they said was very simple and very obvious, is that when you show people the graph, people connect with it but doesn't hit them. When you show them the image, basically based on the same data, but it's a graphic, it goes straight to the limbic system, the reptilian brain, that you know, the fight or flight part of your brain that just lights up. So there's something called picture superiority, which is I can talk about something, but as soon as I show you a picture, that hits that part of the brain. It's almost like a direct path to the reptilian brain that just kind of alarms it. But we talked last time about creating a story with your pictures, and a couple of people mentioned it here. Your take on that?
Yeah, kind of. It certainly making sure that you're talking about what will happen if you don't do anything, right?
Yep.
So what happens if you got one mouse and they found one mouse, or they caught one mouse, or they saw a couple roaches? What could that turn into?
Right.
So it makes sense to show some pictures of how bad it could get, to get ahead of it.
Because you had some pictures here, Ed, like these pictures right here.
Yeah.
You just don't want to throw pictures at people.
Right.
You want to tell a story with the pictures.
Right. So, I mean, you look at that picture there, right? I mean, that's somebody that's marked up a picture. That's a BizSuite picture. That by unit 207, right? You look at the opening and that gap around that air conditioning unit. How the heck can we keep roaches and mice and stuff out of that house, or of that apartment or that multifamily building? Those are pictures that are marked up. Look at the entryway. We talk all the time about door sweeps. This is where we help them help themselves by fixing that. That bait station in the middle, top middle there. When's the last time that thing was checked, right?
Right.
So you show those kind of pictures to show, I guess, maybe the faults in their current program. And I don't know what you do about that picture in the top middle there, with the bait station not checked, but it's almost like, Victor, I don't know what you're going to do about your pest control, but you got to fire these cats.
Yeah.
All right, so go to the next, show a few more pictures. Look at these. I mean, look at these openings. Look at the bed bugs on the left. Look at the roaches. Look at the pigeons up on that roof. I mean, look at all that kind of stuff. That HVAC unit down on from the roof picture on the top right, maybe you can't see it that well, but those are pigeons in there, pooping.
Right.
In the unit that's circulating the air through the whole building, right? What kind of hazard is that? Could that become an OSHA complaint? Could that become a reportable offense that will really get them in trouble? Sherman Hampton is the national account seller. He was on the last call that we had, the earlier call at 8. He sold probably $200,000, $300,000 worth of bird work to Saia, one of our national account trucking firms, because of reported complaints, right? So they can't have those. We can't have those. We're worried about our safety record. Every time they file one of those complaints, it goes against their safety record score. Sometimes it doesn't allow them to do business with customers if their safety scores aren't right. But throw a couple more of them up there.
This is the next one. You have some images here. These are
quite
disgusting.
Yeah, you're trying to sell drain service, right?
Yeah.
If you're not trying to sell drain service, look at that. I mean, that picture obviously is worth $1,000 in commission. Somebody mentioned checking the bait boxes, right? I mean, look at that bait box on the bottom left. I don't know who took that picture. That's one brave soul that took that picture in the middle when they opened that bait box and that possum was sitting in there. Yeah. I'd have been 3 counties away, man. I'd have been like way gone. But when you find something like this, that's the other thing when you're doing your inspection, kind of tying it in with the pictures. If you're going to do the inspection, you better take killer pictures as well. But checking every bait box. Years ago I was out with an account manager and I'm zipping it up because I don't talk when I ride with people. I try to just observe. And we start checking bait stations on the outside, and he started checking every other one. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Well, there's 200 of them here. I'm going to check every other one. What if one of those? What if the one you skipped is the magical one, right? And the money and the shot that gives you the sale, right? So again, tying great pictures into your inspection. I think
it's one, but I want to ask you a question. I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't ask you this question. What if you don't have severe pictures? You have slight damage. How do you spin that a little bit, and how do you play with that narrative when you're talking to the client?
I think that, quite frankly, in most places that we get into, we can find some pictures that will work.
Okay.
Pictures that will certainly help.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, if somebody lets you in, I'm talking about a creative appointment. I'm not talking about the restaurant that calls because they just got fined, by the city and they need some service to get open, right? I'm talking about the one that you source, right? The one that you persistently, professionally prospect through, and they finally say, "Come on out, Victor." There's a reason that they let you out.
That makes sense.
There's a reason that they let you out. They may not tell it to you, but you'll find. I doubt, and I don't know if maybe we can get some of our solid pros out here to say, I can find something everywhere. I am of the belief that I can find something to sell and position it. I can find a bad thing.
Somewhere.
I can find something that's wrong. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it did. Follow-up question that. We talked about what happens if both decision makers aren't there.
Yeah.
Then what do you do with these pictures?
Well, I believe that pictures are incredibly vital to our residential sellers that we talked to last week.
Right.
Because they tell the story, they create the pain, they do all that. I would suggest to you that I think taking quality pictures are more valuable to our commercial folks for this reason. Oftentimes, the decision maker doesn't go with you. It's pretty simple. Maybe you won't get them in a crawl space, but it's pretty simple to have a homeowner walk around with you.
Right.
They'll walk around the outside. They'll walk down the basement. They may even put the crawl suit on and go in the crawl with you. But I think oftentimes as commercial sellers, our folks are too busy. The folks that we're dealing with are too busy. They let you in, and they'll just say, "Okay, Victor, go do your inspection because I'm really busy. I don't have time." And I think all of us have found that as a commercial seller that they're too busy. So the value of capturing that walk around in pictures, I think, is so important because they may not be with you. And maybe more importantly, I think oftentimes when we get commercial proposals, you know, we show up at a place, we get the appointment, and they're like digging everything you got, right? The person you're dealing with, the influencer that may end up not being the eventual yay or nay guy or gal. So I think oftentimes these proposals end up like if I walked around somewhere here in Atlanta, I'd get to the end and the customer would be saying, oh, I dig it, I love that solution, that makes sense. Well, and those pictures are terrible. But I got to push this up to Chicago because that's where they approve these proposals.
So what do you do in that case?
So in that case, somebody mentioned it already, the video screen recording. Yep. In that case, if you've taken great pictures, you've done a great graph, you've done a great inspection, you have all this evidence, what if you just hit that button on that screen record for the iPad and simply said, look, Victor, I get it, you love everything, I know you got to take it to your boss, let me help you with that. Let me put together a 6 to 8 minute narrative of the inspection, my findings, the solutions we're going to suggest, and I'll put that together in a 6 to 8 minute video that you can share with your boss when you try to get this thing pushed across. Because I know you want to go with it.
That's powerful. By the way, I got a question for you guys. If you use that video when you're sending to a customer because they're not there to make a decision, you know, how long is your video typically? What would you guys recommend the length of that video be? I'm curious. I don't know what it should be. What do you think the length of the video should be if you're sending it to a decision maker that's not there? What do you guys think?
Yeah, put it in there.
Yeah.
We got a lot of folks that aren't doing it a lot. I mean, that 5 minutes or less. Very good.
Sean Wilson
3 to 5 minutes. As long as it takes. Adam Humphrey, good answer. 3 to 5.
Adam is such a politician. I can tell already. Adam's a politician.
Amen.
As long as it takes, we will be there. I love it.
Depends on the customer. Very good.
Depends on the customer. Another politician. Sean's more like a lawyer. Well, it depends. It always depends, Victor. You know.
I would say, Victor, I'll give you my 2 cents. Somewhere between 6 to 8 minutes. If you push it further than that, you're going to get in trouble. Because you do want to share some pictures of what's going on, the problems. You do want to share some of your solution. You do want to share, you know, a triple option kind of solution, you know, sale, you know, close,
and
proposal.
you don't want to rush through it.
You don't
so
want to rush
if there's
through
enough like damage there, I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm joking with the as long as it takes with Adam and Sean, but it really does depend.
Yeah.
But you know, I think if it's only several things, you want to be quick, concise, to the point. But if there's really big problems, you definitely want to take your time going through that.
The folks that have adopted and run with this technology, I guess I would say that the adoption or the adaption is more so on the residential side, particularly like when you got, you know, seniors that you're dealing with or folks like that you really don't feel comfortable pitching.
Yep.
But the other valuable piece to it that a lot of our residential folks are doing with it is they're doing it to proposals even when they didn't sell them. You know, they tell you to leave. Hey, when I get home tonight, I'm going to send you a summary of what we talked about today, Victor.
Interesting.
So it's there and it's present all the time, and it's not something that they just saw one time or heard one time and it's gone. They can go back. Maybe they got 2 or 3 companies coming out to bid.
Right.
They say, let me go. What did that Victor guy say about that?
That's
Let me go look at that. And the other thing it'll do is none of your competitors are doing this.
That's interesting.
Create more separation. Look at this professional document these guys put together. Because I think oftentimes when you get commercial decision makers, it's typically these days it's not just one.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of getting all 2 or 3, 4 people together that are going to combine on this decision is difficult with as busy as people are. I mean, you can do all the pre-qualifying you want to try to pin down the, you know, the correct buying procedure, right, and make sure you got the buying powers there. But inevitably, as much as you've done to kind of prejudge that or kind of set that stage, you know, Victor, is anybody else involved in this decision?
Yeah.
It's me, man. I'm the guy. I'm the man.
Yeah, they all say that.
And
what you said, I want to hit on what you said because it's really important because it's so subtle, right? Like sometimes we'll do the inspection and then the person says, I got 2 or 3 more to look at. You as a salesperson might say, it's not even worth doing the video.
Yeah.
But what you said is important is that you send the video nonetheless, and if you're the first person in, your video becomes the baseline of what they'll compare everything else to, anybody who comes in after you.
Amen. And you think about these creative proposals,
That's very good.
oftentimes they don't make a decision right up front.
Yeah.
It may be 6 months. I'll bet you that half the business that Chris Pierce gets every year is something he pitched a year ago, right? And they call back to, you know what, Chris, they're really sucking now.
Right.
Come on out here, we're ready.
That's
right, so if you've got that to fall back on, you can do that.
I love that.
Fair enough?
I never thought about that.
So that kind of stuff. Let's go to the last one, and we'll be really short with this one because this is, I think it's kind of the, you know, there's 10 pillars in my Build It Perfect plan. This is like number 1 as far as strength because when we're in that knockout business, you know, we want to put our money where our mouth is. And I say that, you know, before we talk about the solutions and, you know, I've kind of shared the solutions with you. Before I break down the pricing for you, Victor, with some options, I want to tell you and show you how here at Orkin we put our money where our mouth is. And this is teeing up the triple guarantee.
Right.
And I think it's the biggest edge that we have. Now, while the guarantees across the industry may be somewhat similar. I'm not saying ours is so different, but what I'm saying is if you spin ours the right way,
Right.
and you say ours the right way, that will create separation. And you simply do it by going to the triple guarantee, click one more slide. You know, in your discovery, you found out when you asked them the question, you know, if you get a flare-up, typically what happens? You know, typically, you know, is the guy here within 2-3 days? And they'll say, oh yeah, he gets here a couple, 3 days. Knowing full well that when you come back to present, you're going to tell them 224. You know, the coolest thing about doing business with Orkin, with our footprint and the way that we service, is that we guarantee a couple of things. First off, if you call for help, we're oftentimes, as a pest control provider, we're kind of like the firemen, right? I mean, yeah, we come here once a month and we do our regular routine services, but when you really need us the most is where we got to answer the bell. And here's how we do it here at Orkin.
Right.
Call in, you get a little flare-up of something back in the kitchen, you get a little flare-up of ants. Here's how it works. You pick, in the unlikely event that you get a flare-up with our service, you know, our regular routine services, I want you to pick up the phone, call us, we'll respond within 2 hours, we'll return your call, and we will be on site contractually within 24 to render that service. So that's the first stage of the guarantee. You let that settle in a little bit based on what they've been receiving.
And that's
getting.
more valuable today, Ed, because getting people out to your house has become that much more difficult.
Yeah, we'll tell your story about
I think that's a big one, man. I think that's a big one. Like I said, we tried to get my AT&T fiber optic went down. Yeah, AT&T fiber optic went down, right? And so we called them up, and this was Friday, and then they said they couldn't come out to either Monday or Tuesday, right? And we're like, what? And so imagine having this type of guarantee. It's powerful, more powerful than ever.
Amen.
I think pre-pandemic, one could argue, it's like, okay, that's nice. Post-pandemic, I think that's big.
Absolutely.
From a
Absolutely.
consumer standpoint.
Yeah. And then go to the next, go back to that slide one more time.
Okay.
Yeah, the second stage of that is the reimbursement. You know, if your guest sees a rat or a roach, we simply tell you, we got it. We'll take care of it. You're not going to be responsible for it. We'll make it right by that customer. We'll pick up that tab. You know, years ago, we used to limit that amount, but we give it right away.
Yep.
And I always talk about leading with the fine print, right?
Right.
And I love this. When I tee up the triple guarantee, I said, let me start with the fine print, Victor.
I love that.
Let's start there. And here's the fine print. Here's what we ask of you. Victor, believe it or not, we expect you to pay your bill. We expect you to pay your bill. We expect you to be current with your bill. And we expect you, your responsibility, and we talked about it earlier, creating this partnership. You're going to close that big football-sized hole in the back so the roaches and rats can quit running in. You're going to do that part. That's on you.
Right.
If you do that, and you pay your bill, at the end of 60 days, if you're not completely satisfied with us taking over your service, we'll give you all your money back.
Yep.
Or we'll give you 60 days of free service to get it right.
Love it.
So when you spin it that way, when you talk to the customer,
There's power in that.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about that. When you start with the fine print, it's almost like you reduce skepticism.
Yeah.
Because then when you get into the proposal, they're going to listen more automatically, psychologically. But if you do the proposal first, they're thinking, yeah, what's the catch? What's the fine print? By knocking out the fine print, sequencing it that way, I personally think it's brilliant. I mean, that's the way I would do it.
I don't know how I came upon it, but I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me. Like when people are talking about guarantees to me, I'm like, really? Everybody has a guarantee.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about the fine print first, because then I don't have to read it.
Because as soon as you hear fine print, it just triggers that brain, that fear center kicks in again. Like, what is the fine print?
So maybe there is one
What's the
thing I
catch?
figured out in this game years ago. So-
Yeah.
No, but I mean, think about that. Leading with that, and then going to the end, going to the last. Go back to the slide one more time.
Okay.
And the 360 satisfaction. That's where we give them all their money back.
Yep.
You know, we realize that it's difficult to change vendors. We figured that out a long time ago, and here's how we handle that here at Orkin. We simply take all the risk away.
Yep.
We take all the risk away. We simply tell you, if you decide to make a change to us and come to us,
Right.
we're going to do a couple things. We're going to show up on time. We're going to answer the bell when it rings. We're going to give you your money back if one of your customers has a bad experience. We're going to give them their money back. And at the end of the day, Victor, we eliminate all the risk by telling you if you're not completely satisfied with the service and the result that service renders, we will give you all your money back. And in fact, we will pay for 60 days with Ecolab if you decide to bring them back in. Isn't that the kind of company you want to do business with?
De-risk.
De-risking.
Mitigate the
De-risking.
risk. That's,
You know, the whole
again,
book, you
calms
know,
it down.
the whole book by
The Jolt Effect.
The Jolt Effect, the whole
Yeah.
book. De-risking the purchase.
That's it.
De-risking
Nothing
the
to
purchase.
add there.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
just super cool. Adds value. There's a bunch of whole notes in there. I don't know. Other than that, I think just throw the slides up there. So again, getting back to I think we way overcomplicate this thing, right? We talk about big picture stuff. We work about coming up with these magic phrases that win business. At the end of the day, it's the little details that they see, that they visualize, that they understand, that they say, them Orkin cats, I'm going to give her a chance.
Got it.
I'm going to give her a chance.
I got it right.
Yeah, yeah, we do got to run. And then just one last slide.
That one right there.
This is the Orkin Rollins Relief Fund. If you've not been kind of proposed or chased down on that, if I've ever given you a nickel's worth of value in all my time here, I would just like to ask you to sign on. Donate $1 per pay. If you're already donating, throw another $1 in per pay.
Nice.
All this money goes to Rollins employees. There's no big shots at the top. Having steak dinners and going to these big resorts to celebrate. Everybody involved in this is a Rollins employee,
Right.
and they're all volunteers.
Nice.
They're all volunteers. So we've had a lot of trouble over the last year or two with our people. Hurricanes and crazy stuff. All that stuff that happened. It ruined my. As you know, I spend a lot of time on the Gulf Coast of Florida and just wiped out everything that I'm ever familiar with, and it's all gone. It's all gone.
sad.
And we helped
Very
a lot of
sad.
folks
Yep.
down there. So that's all we got. The last housekeeping takeaway. Okay, so my people, my salespeople, turn the Mentor app on. Our numbers at Orkin are horrific compared to Rollins. Turn that Mentor app on. We want you to get to that last stop of the day, which is your house, safely. And this Mentor app is proven over and over again to make you a better driver. It's not going to make you Mario Andretti, but it'll make you a safer driver. It'll teach you that the bad habits that you're doing will fix. I'm not going to get on a big soapbox on it. Just turn the dang thing on and let's get compliant with it. Anything else?
Nope, that's
It was
it.
a great broadcast. We went 40 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, I look forward to seeing a whole bunch of you in New Orleans next week and
Yeah.
celebrating your success. So we're out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.